Welcome to the first episode of Into the Foxhole. I am your host, Jeff Fox. With me today is my lovely, beautiful wife, Julia, as my co-host.
Hi.
So I kind of kicked around what to talk about for a while, and, part of me thought, well, everyone's sick of hearing about how bad our president's screwing everything up in COVID-19, but really just wanted to vent a little bit. So I hope that's okay with everybody. Oh, and forewarning, anyone who doesn't like F-bombs may want to hit mute now. So first there was how the president downplayed stuff. I don't have the link in front of me, but somebody shared earlier with me a timeline of all the stuff the president said just in January. I'd say like the third week of January, he was saying, it's not a big deal. We're going to be fine. There's one person from China. That was an exact quote. Then it seemed like he was dragged kicking and screaming in a way into being a real leader, like a commander in chief. And I'm giving a little too much credit saying real leader.
Yeah.
Since when a journalist asks him a question like, do you think it was right for you to respond that way? He goes, you're nasty. I think you want to know what I think? And I could be wrong, but I think that some people just want my poll numbers to be low because they don't want me to get reelected.
Right.
Well, gee. Let me count the ways, the reasons why I don't want you reelected.
It's too many to count.
It's sad that we, try to recall the history of President Trump. We're like, remember when there was a time when we said we can't let him normalize this just ridiculous, misogynistic, sexist, racist behavior, but
they let it happen anyway.
Well, then, like the first 3 months of his presidency went by, and there was already like such a treasure trove of problems.
Well, the fact of the matter is that they've played out like what a pandemic could do to America, or a global pandemic, and it's like nobody pays attention to the scientists and the people that really study this stuff, and here we are. And there Bill Gates even had a TED talk or whatever about how we're not prepared for pandemics, and it's going to be sort of like our future, you know what I mean? Like, so this has been like sitting around for a long time, and here we are, and it's like the whole world just got turned upside down in the shortest time frame, and we're all like scattering to put the pieces back together to figure out how we're gonna make it through it.
I feel like it'd be a lot easier to figure out how we're gonna make it with a real leader. I mean, speaking of, and by all means, if I'm not already clear in my opinion, I think the president and his administration have completely botched the response to this. And I was thinking about two separate reports I read. One talking about the year he was inaugurated. In fact, like that January, him being briefed on a potential pandemic that could spread from China or all over the world. And, that particular article was saying, well, since he fired 2/3 of his cabinet, maybe that's part of the reason why their response was so bad. But the vice president was still there. I'm pretty sure Trump was there. But even without that, they said that they spoke to him again, or some public officials, health officials, tried to give him another scenario and a warning last year. And it was probably the same thing. He was like playing Candy Crush on his phone. Oh, I'm sorry, what? I was just reading TMZ.
I think like we have people that have been following this from the very beginning. For instance, there was that 17-year-old that made that germ tracker website. He was following it from December when it started in China, and now we can see like the numbers across the entire globe, and it's like, why wasn't our leaders following? Why don't we have people following that and taking it seriously? Why is it that we have like it's awesome that Americans are stepping up and doing everything they can to help each other, but like why do we not have leaders that are doing that?
Why is a high school student outshining our
why are
like
all the
leaders?
people are outshining our leaders, yet we still continue to be stuck in this cycle of like lies and money over lives, and that's what's sickening. And this is like the biggest, most eye-opening experience like ever, that's like not just affecting one area, it's affecting everybody. And so it's like, I think it's eye-opening for everyone, because it's not like, oh, we're praying for your state, if a hurricane's coming or like whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's like, we are all fucking for real in this together, and it's scary as shit. It's fucking terrifying, because you don't know what's going to happen after, like in the future, and we have a leader that's like just saying stuff that's not effective. It's not helping.
It's not leadership material.
And like the mental health of people is already, like, anxiety levels, I'm sure, like through the roof. We don't have kids. I could even imagine if I was pregnant or had kids to worry about. Like, it's just crazy.
It's scary. And you reminded me of another article I read, which was talking about the fact that we keep a federal stockpile of equipment for such scenarios, like ventilators and masks. And in an effort to prepare for this, I'm not going to remember the guy's name, but the person who like oversees this requested something like $2 trillion from the administration. And they went, no, here's a fraction of that. And it just seems like every step of the way, I mean, even with the administration getting rid of the response team for pandemics, every step of the way, they've just fucked it up.
Yeah.
Fuck. And I was thinking about something that John Oliver said. We were watching John Oliver yesterday do his like second video by himself. He used the phrase market worship.
Right. Yeah.
And that to me perfectly describes what the difference is right now in some politicians' response to this, as opposed to other people who are saying, no. Listen to doctors. Listen to medical professionals. Well, the market.
Right. And why is the president calling sports players to ask for advice like that?
Oh man, Alex Rodriguez.
And frankly, like, I know that the Dr. Fauci, and I can't remember the other lady's name, what's her name, that's been talking, like
I can't remember her name.
They get up there and they say wash your hands, and they say stay home and do all this and that. But it's like, frankly, somebody needs to be like slap the president and the leaders like in the face with some balls, because like somebody needs to just take them and be like, this is what has to happen, period. Be frank and like hard, because it's like we're just telling people to stay home, but then there's people that can't stay home. And then they're saying if you're an essential worker, and then you read the essential worker list and it's like every job that there is. So
right.
I don't understand how we're going to slow the spread if we just continue to make people go and work together. And, we can do the best we can. We can wash our hands and all that stuff, but it doesn't change the fact that it's going to spread.
You brought up something that I think is a great segue to mention Governor Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, Governor.
What
are you doing?
I was reading a Miami Herald article this morning that was talking about It was talking about how cozy he's been through all this with the Chamber of Commerce of Florida and the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association. One piece of the article that stuck out to me was they were saying the president of the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association, Carol Dover,
Carol Dover. Remember that name.
is one of the people that heavily lobbied the governor to consider restaurants and hotels, quote, essential.
Yeah, and we have tons of family that work in restaurants, and they're just, one of them, lost his job. The other one is being forced to go in, and people are getting takeout, and they're just coming in and waiting around the lobby. It's like they're not safe, and people like Carol. What's her name?
I almost said a really bad word. Dover.
People like Carol Dover, people who are just thinking about their money, the business. They're not going to have people left to run the show for them. Like, so take care of your people, because that's who's making your money. Period.
Another good point with that too
Same
is
with Trump.
that
Same with Trump.
plenty of economists have also said that the same thing's going to happen if all your workers get sick, except it might be longer and a more arduous process. So, yeah, they keep saying what's going to help right now is just to lock shit down,
Right.
because it's going to get us through it faster. The longer you wait and go, well, there's some counties where fucking 5 people live in Florida that don't even have any cases.
And yet there's small businesses, like, I wish I could remember the pizza place's name, but there was a pizza place in New York where the owner took out, like, I don't remember, a $50,000 loan so that he could pay his workers during this time. And it's like, you have people like that are considering their workers, yet these other people that have businesses that all they give a shit about is their money could care less. They want their workers to just work for them, and they're not considering their safety.
Like a certain restaurant with initials CB.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Like
salty crackers.
Soggy waffles. Oh boy, okay. This is so I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but it's all very interesting.
Well, one other point is too, like, essential workers, our grocery store workers. First of all, they should get a raise immediately.
Yeah.
And they're getting the plexiglass put up around them, so that protects them.
Should get hazard pay.
They should get hazard pay. They after this, they deserve gigantic bonuses. I don't even know.
Was that you that said a parade for medical workers?
No, that was I think that was John Oliver that said that, actually. A parade.
No, he said, a fucking parade!
Yeah. And then he said, as long as the virus isn't
Love
around.
that
Because
guy.
that is, at first I thought, what a weird thing to say, like, have a parade.
Yeah.
But I get what he was saying.
Yeah.
Like, everybody just be cheerful. And, people like our family members that are stuck working in takeout that are having people come into the lobby, they deserve to have, plexiglass put up as well.
Honestly, any restaurant that's doing takeout
Right.
should only be doing curbside, like where the employee carries the bag out to a car at this point. When I heard this bullshit about, fuck it, I'm just going to say their name, Cracker Barrel, just keeping the place open with the front doors open as usual and allowing as many people as they want to walk in, who I might add are like over 75, 80 years old.
Right. Meanwhile, I just got an incoming text from Tampa, Florida. Residents with COVID-19 symptoms call this number, 272-5900, to be screened and pre-registered for testing.
Pre-registered?
Pre-registered. 8 a.m. 5 to 5 p.m. until Thursday, April 2nd. So register now. 813-272-5900 and comment your thoughts.
Good job, honey. Which I don't even know what the current status is of the whole Raymond James testing site, but I do know that from when I tried to possibly get seen there last week, it was like 10 a.m. and I think that the line basically opened at 8, and they had already gone through their 1,000 slots for applicants.
Well, you were experiencing some symptoms, so that's we were a
Yeah.
little nervous there. So, but it's like who knows? We both could have had it. I don't know.
That's what's so fucked up about this.
Yeah, that's what doesn't.
Is it like it's the time of year when pollen's at all-time high, allergies, colds, regular flu. And so then also coupled with the lack of testing, anybody who gets any symptom at all,
right?
and as a person like myself who has some anxiety, will get a symptom, and then all of a sudden I'm breathing a little harder. So I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. You just don't know.
Oh, I think I'm breathing hard. It's incredibly stressful time, and I can only imagine how stressed out parents have been.
And I know a handful of people that have been denied testing that should have probably gotten it, and that's shame on our leaders for letting that happen across the entire United States of America. Like, nurses should definitely get priority over if a asymptomatic celebrity or you know who you are comes in there. Like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
Because our nurses and doctors are the ones that are at the front lines, and they're being forced to work. Whether if they might not have any symptoms, they might be sick though. So it just doesn't make any sense. It's almost like every man for himself, every state and city for themselves, and good luck.
It's almost like we should have a healthcare for all system.
Yeah. Bernie.
Oh.
Come on the show, Bernie.
Have you, didn't I tell you about the trending hashtag debate Bernie? Because Joe Biden was recorded in the last couple of days saying, I think the American people have had enough of debates. Right now I'm dealing with this crisis. And my first thought was, wait a second. Bernie Sanders is the one who's been in the Senate helping to draft and vote on legislation. And meanwhile, the other guy, the candidate, is saying, I'm working on this. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure Joe Biden's working on something. But it really rubbed me the wrong way for him to say the American people have had enough of debates. Like, I don't think you have the first fucking clue what the American people want.
I mean,
First.
I've been following his feed too, and I think he is saying a lot of positive things. And
he has to. He's a candidate for president.
He has to, yeah. So they have to kind of go head to head, toe to toe.
Mushmouth Joe does much better on Twitter.
Heel to heel, elbow to elbow.
Mushmouth.
Do your research, people, because
right.
now is the time to make a change, a drastic change. And listen to Alec Baldwin on Instagram. Record your stories throughout this pandemic and record everything you're going through, because I think he's right. I think that it's important for everybody to see after how people have been treated and not treated.
Yeah. I would make one more warning. I don't care if you watch Fox News or MSNBC or whatever other show or newspaper you like to go to. Be aware of bias and certain, propaganda machines.
Right.
I mean, even reputable reporting sources like New York Times slant a little left and provide some, I hate to use the word spin just because it reminds me of fuckface Bill O'Reilly. But, people spin things.
Spin, like a record, like they spin it. I thought you said spinned. That's why I was confused.
Oh, no, I said spin.
Okay. Yeah.
They are spending my patience. They are spinning the news.
Oh no, that's not.
Today's word is spin. Can you use that in a sentence?
Spin me right round, baby, right round.
I did want to mention that I had been in some...
Spin. The definition of spin is turn or cause to turn or whirl around quickly.
Wait, is there any more definitions?
Yeah, there's a lot.
They got to use one for like...
A rapid turning or whirling motion. I mean, this basically sounds like what everybody is doing right now. So,
like our president.
It was a perfect call.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go back to.
What was that thing he just said? Wait, I wrote it down over here.
This is a pandemic. I felt it was a pandemic long before it was called a pandemic.
But then and I think this article might have been New York Times. They went on to say, well, on January 22nd, a CNBC reporter asked a question, and he asked whether there are worries about a pandemic. And the president replied,
No, not at all. We have it totally under control. It's one person coming in from China, and we have it under control. It's going to be just fine.
But it's not, because there are refrigerator trucks that are filling up with corpses. So that's scary.
nothing's just fine with this asshole.
Why did you do that after you said asshole?
I was trying to voice my contempt.
Was that your asshole getting clenched up?
That's my contempt.
Okay.
If I could just squeeze that neck. Make your eyeballs pop out of
like
your
your
big
asshole
orange
is-
head.
Eating something. Okay. Yeah, sorry, we just got a little.
That's kind of part of the point. We just go on tangents. Oh yeah, what Mitch McConnell said, that's where I wanted to lead to, because it relates to the fact that Trump says things that contradict reality. And Mitch McConnell, I guess very recently in the last day or so, trying to show some support for the president, said that the impeachment process, quote, diverted the attention of the government, hindering their coronavirus response.
That's just a load of malarkey.
Malarkey. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. First of all, we're going on a no malarkey tour, all right? The young kids are going to love it. Where the fuck are you from? God. I'm sorry. Whoever out there thinks Joe Biden's the best chance, you're just wrong. He's so out of touch. Anyways, that's my rant. Jeez. Yeah, so Mitch McConnell, maybe if your asshole buddies hadn't drug out the process so long saying, you have no substantial evidence. You mean like a transcript of the phone call that says, "Hey, world leader of this country that we supply aid to, you might not get the aid unless you look into this person. I want you to look into." Oh, what's the famous quote?
Do me a favor.
Fact of the matter is, everybody needs to just get out there and and vote and just try to get this motherfucker out of office.
I have a point on that.
And just
I know I have a lot of points,
help
but
us.
this is important because I know I've been guilty at this times, but I feel like almost everybody I know talks a lot about the state of things, but I tend to not see enough action from people. And like in this day and age when technology puts things a click away where we can go, gee, who's my Congress representative? And we can just type it in, put in our zip code, and then it shows us who it is. And, like right now, I'm phone banking, haven't actually started yet, but phone banking for Bernie Sanders from my couch.
Woo!
Yeah. Anybody who wants to see a Sanders presidency, by the way, go to the website, go to / so it's berniesanders.com / phone bank, and call people in Wisconsin right now because their primary is next week on April 7th. And we could still turn out that state for Bernie. And states like New York haven't voted yet. And Oregon, I believe, too. So there's still a ton of delegates to be had. And, don't fall for that electability bullshit, because before the DNC started pushing that message, there was plenty of polls showing that Americans thought Bernie Sanders would beat Trump in the election as opposed to Joe Biden. Because, let's face it, at the time, Joe Biden was going, and let me tell you another thing. Oh, my time is up. Okay.
Turn out.
What?
Turn out.
Turn out. Dude, it's so easy to reach out to your Congress people, your leaders, and be a little more involved in the process. I mean, come on.
Well,
Like-
all of us have a lot of, not all of us, but most of us have quite a bit of time, we're spending at home.
Right.
And if we can post everything that we're doing at home on social media, whether it be like all the crafts, music, silly dances, games that we're posting to help kind of cheer each other up and keep our spirits lifted, then we can also, try to make a difference in that aspect as well. So just add that to your bingo list. Things for you to check off to do this month or week, whatever, however you're. It's a thing.
Do people still play bingo?
No, it's a thing.
What's a bingo list?
It's so that on social media, they're doing these like
Bingo!
stop. They're doing these bingo games. So it's like if you want to support, your local restaurant, then they'll have like all the local restaurants in your area that you could check off if you wanted to order from them on DoorDash to support businesses, or they have sort of games that you can play. So like one could be, like draw a picture or do some push-ups. I don't know, like little stuff like that. So you can just make like make it a fun way to sort of
Pass the time.
do your to-do list, just to, it's kind of like,
I'm so negative.
not to pass the time, but it's something to keep people busy.
Yeah.
Because some people really just, especially in New York, a lot of them are just stuck at home and especially with their kids and stuff too. So yeah, it's become like a trend on social media. So add that to your list. Add that to bingo.
So one more thing I really wanted to talk about Trump, and then I will take his dirty, dirty name out of my mouth. And this kind of goes in step with all the stupid shit he says, like he wants to be open by Easter. And
Easter is important for other reasons. Wink, wink. Christian conservative fan base.
that I was reading this article, somebody shared an article from Vox with me that's called "Is Trumpism a Cult?" And, even the guy that wrote the article was saying, I pushed back a lot against him claiming it was like a cult, but he was drawing some similarities. But I found another article within that from Politico written by a professor from Columbia University of Journalism, Gwenda Blair. And it was all about the church that he went to with his dad. And the church was run by, what's this guy's name? Norman Vincent Paul. He was the author of The Power of Positive Thinking. Essentially, like the article goes on to say, that this guy created his own brand of sermon in this church that didn't really rely on Bible scripture. He made it more about personal confidence in oneself and just like
Believe in yourself.
and it seems to ring so true to me with how Donald Trump handles everything. Because like one of the quotes that I took out was the guy Vincent Paul would say, "Create a mental picture of yourself succeeding." And it always seems like Trump is like,
I'm the best. I'm the best there ever was. I'm better than generals
Better than all
at
the
war.
rest.
I never fought in a war. I never was in any military service of any kind. I had a bone spur, but I'm better than generals.
everything.
It's a perfect phone call.
After reading that, I just thought like, oh, it all makes sense. By the way, and this goes to any Christian who believes anything this guy says too. I also found an article while I was looking for that one about the pastor from Marble Church in New York City that apparently was a church he was going to. And this pastor said he did not see him, quote, "not one time," end quote. So the guy was never in church. He said, never came to one Bible study. So moral of the story, the guy's full of shit. I'm done. I'm done, honey.
Sometimes you just gotta let him go.
Gotta get it out. Wind me up. Oh, and Glenn Beck, if you're volunteering yourself to die, just fucking go for it, man. I'm pretty sure there are people out there who need help right now, whether it's food banks or, getting medical supplies from point A to point B, something. Go ahead and put yourself just all the way out there. Eat some food in close proximity to people, lick your fingers, I don't know, do whatever you can. I think Rush Limbaugh also volunteered, so maybe you guys can go together. Okay, I'll stop.
Dark.
I can't believe those guys. And then there was that governor, lieutenant governor, that was on Fox. It was like, nobody asked me if I wanted to volunteer to ensure that my grandchildren inherit an America that, I don't know what he thinks is some post-apocalyptic nightmare. But like we said,
Persuadables.
if you don't put in quarantine, like stay-at-home measures all over the place right now, then we're still going to have this economy that continues to
Right.
go down.
People want to go back to work. I just feel like that was such a dick thing to say because there's so many people that are just struggling right now, and especially people with, kids to feed and families that just, they're freaking out. And people do live paycheck to paycheck, and what happens when they don't have any money? What are they going to do? That's just sad that we have a president that
know.
would say that. And
I guarantee right now there's people already out of money.
it's like, that's just not a nice thing to say at this time. It's not positive. That's not constructive. It's not helpful for anybody. If that's how you feel about certain people, then just keep that shit to yourself. Don't announce it on public television.
It's so amusing to me to hear all those Republicans say, now's not the time to make things political.
Well, it's like they say America wasn't built to, to
shut down.
To shut down. And it's
Right.
like, right. And people don't want to stay inside. They don't want to be confined. There's a lot of people that own businesses. They want to get back to work. They want to see their employees, their
Yeah.
friends, and they want to continue like producing things where they connect with the world. And it's like, we're not going to get there if we continue.
Are they
continue
saying
where we're
that Italy was built to shut down or Spain's built to shut down? Or,
Right.
It's fucking just so stupid, the things that come out of some of these guys' mouths. And man, I just hope people don't actually believe that crap.
Yeah. I think it's hard when it's in your face 24/7, especially now when the future is uncertain.
Hold our
Just
leaders accountable, folks.
hold them accountable.
Come November, hold people accountable.
Hold them accountable. Record your stories. Vote. Try to stay as positive as you can, and
Maybe I should try to make things more positive.
and
right now.
just just there's a topic you want to talk about or you want to hear from the Fox.
Yeah, you could mention
Just
it
mention it.
on the Facebook page or
Facebook page. We
YouTube
started
comments.
a YouTube. We did not record this one as a video, but you can still listen to it there, and eventually we'll be on Spotify. So
Yeah, I promise when things get a little more interesting than me and lovely wifey sitting on the couch.
I'm not interesting.
That's not what I said. Don't put words in my mouth.
Put words in the microphone.
That I will in fact include video.
But
I
we all feel for everybody, and we just want to
Hey.
say how much we are sending love out and
Yeah.
care about everybody, and we want there to be a change made.
Especially our healthcare workers. I mean, don't get me wrong. Definitely our grocery store workers and our drivers and gas station cashiers and people still working in essential work, but especially our healthcare workers who don't have proper equipment and just have to be there. And are it's not that they're there against their will. They went into that line of work to help people and to protect lives.
And
It's
they're also scared.
So, every chance you get, give love to those people. Julia, I wanted to ask you about that guy you showed me on, maybe it was Instagram, the guy that does those really great Donald Trump impressions.
No, it was on TikTok.
Oh, TikTok.
I don't remember
This guy is so funny.
his name. I followed him on your page, so
I wanted to. Okay, I'll try to put that in the comments or mention him in the next episode. He's got to be the best Donald Trump impression I've ever seen, and he did a couple of TikTok videos that were like Obama and Trump hanging out, but he plays both parts.
man, I wish I could find him now. Well, yeah, we'll stay tuned for that in the comment thread.
Hey, that reminds me too of the other video you showed me earlier. It was the guy talking about the guy that was a survivor of the Spanish flu.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about drawing similarities, not only to the fact that it spread all over the place and people had to stay in, but what I found interesting is he also pointed out how there was still misinformation and crosstalk coming from the authorities. And I just thought
Right?
oh,
It's a
Maybe that-
repeating.
maybe that shouldn't surprise me because people in power always want to skew things and deceive.
Yeah.
So my wife has gotten me to do more Instagram videos. That one was a TikTok though, right?
Follow him on TikTok so that you can watch how much I embarrass him because he'll never do his own TikTok videos.
I'm old school, baby. So I think that pretty much wraps it up for this episode number 1. Yay! Of Into the Foxhole.
Foxhole.
Again, I'm Jeff Fox, joined by my lovely wife, Julia, and our 2 cats. They slept through the entire thing. Next episode, I plan to have on a very knowledgeable guy who's got some background in politics. I know, woo, politics again, yay! But actually, what we're going to do is go much deeper into the history of the Democratic Party and kind of around the time that Jesse Jackson made his bid for president, how the party had began to shift at that time towards corporate Democrats as well as blue dog Democrats. It's very interesting stuff. I think everybody will get a lot out of it. That's about it.
That's a wrap.
Farewell. Wait, how's that song go? To you.
To you.
Until we meet again. Oh, it's happy trails.
I don't know. I'm just going with you.
Happy trails to you. All right. Bye.